The basement, where nerdiness thrives, and grown men rant about toys.
What up, basement dwellers?
What up, Dick Lickers? We back again.
Dick lickers.
Back with the Rob Zombie retrospective. We're coming to a close very, very soon, my friends, and that is why it is time to see what's going on with the Firefly family. What have they been
Yeah,
up to? They should
yeah,
be dead.
yeah. They should be dead. I love the explanation where they're like 20 bullet wounds each. Nobody thought that anyone would survive this, but they did.
But they did. And what's so funny about it is that the news report dialogue is at its most over the top. Like, what's it called? We've always talked about how, oh, it's the most grisly murders since Jack the Ripper stalked the streets of London. But, now it's like at a fucking 10.
Yeah, it's like the most. He's taken control of two of the most notorious criminals since Burke and Dare.
But before we even get started, taken to the Facebook page, we didn't get much, but what we did was a lot from dedicated fan Sam Wetz. So I just texted Travis and I was like, you might want to get this one pulled up in advance because we're going to need to read this one in parts, me and you. So I figured I would do the honors and get it started, and then you could pick up from where it goes as for the film itself.
All right.
So, Sam, thank you. I mean, we definitely encourage this. Travis responded that he's like, "This is what I'm talking about. Give us more." So he says that this film was very disappointing. When I heard the rumors at the time before it officially got confirmed that Rob was working on a sequel to Devil's Rejects, I had two thoughts about it. For one, was curious how he was going to explain how they survived the end of Rejects because it was pretty obvious they died in the end and there was no way they would still be alive after that. But I was curious how it was going to work. There was a rumor that seemed to have gotten debunked real quick that they were literally going to get rejected out of hell at the end of Devil's Rejects and then would come back to life and do some killing, which would have been something if it was true. I remember hearing that rumor too. Um, but as for two, I just saw him as trying to gain some level of success back, or at least get some praise again after 31 didn't go so well with fans. It also seems like a pattern I've noticed that happens with some directors. They'll have one film that does well in some way. When they have a run of films not having great success, they'll end up going back to their previous work and make a sequel out of it, especially ones that don't even need a sequel in the first place. I definitely feared this would be kind of like a Back to the Well, almost like a Clerks 2 kind of vibe. But as we continue, I don't necessarily see it as that way, but I pass the ball over to you, Travis.
So the rest of Sam's post is, as for the film itself, I've watched it a few times since it came out, and I can honestly say that when it comes to Rob's original work and ideas, this is definitely my least favorite Rob Zombie film. I found it to be lacking something that made me love corpses, or in this case, Devil's Rejects, in the first place. It also seemed to be obvious that a lot of the plot was kind of thrown together and not super thought out because some stuff just happens without any real buildup or anything. Now that could be because of Spaulding being more of a prominent character in the film initially than just a few minute appearance due to Sid Haig's declining health, which led to some stuff obviously getting changed and having Richard Brake's character getting added as the third main character because of that. I'm sure the plot of the film we got is almost the same as the one that had Spalding in it. Uh, More originally, but who knows? As for the performers, Bill Moseley and Sherry Moon do find in this film, Richard Brake for me was my favorite part of the film overall. He was definitely having a great time playing his character when it came to the performance and some of the lines he has. But then again, I'm a huge fan of his work, and I always found him to be super underrated, so I'm kind of biased here. Ha ha. The rest of the performances were okay at best. Not much really stood out. Nothing really stood out much when it came to the rest of the characters. Lastly, I will say that many of Rob's previous movies, good soundtrack as usual. Overall, this film was disappointing for me, and I think the franchise should have been left alone after Devil's Rejects. Just my opinion. I'm sure you guys will have more positive stuff to say about Three from Hell than me, lol. Appreciate you, Sam. And
Absolutely.
I totally feel that. Uh, because I totally see all those criticisms. I really do. Um, but we'll definitely jump into those. And so, I remember last week I was thinking you and I were going to do this, and I forgot that you said you were going to be out of town. So I prematurely posted um, some hype posts saying, "Hey, tell us what you think in the comments, and we'll read them." So we did get a few that time. I'm going to read them now. I held on to them,
Hell yeah.
uh,
We didn't
and
forget
so
about you, basement dwellers.
yeah. So
No
a
basement left
huh?
behind. I said no basement dweller left behind.
Yeah. So Carly Ray says possible spoilers. Although I really liked this film and will add it to my collection someday, I can't help but be a tad disappointed that it has basically the same plot points as The Devil's Rejects. I figured it would be different enough considering how long it took to make the film. But I was mistaken. And then Lacey Lou comments to her, also not quite as impactful and takes away the epic ending that is Devil's Rejects. And then Ken Lovett says, I have watched this one twice now. I think it will keep getting better after every watch. It lacks Sid Haig's power, but I feel that it is a great bookend to the trilogy and one of Zombie's best films.
This
So
is why
thank you.
this is why I called it the Return of the Jedi of the trilogy, because not only is it the third, and there's some like similar. I always find Star Wars comparisons, but Return of the Jedi was a film that didn't really top Empire, repeated some of the same plot elements to kind of, and not saying it as a criticism, but to kind of repeat the success. That's just kind of how it worked out, and kind of like with Spaulding's absence due to declining health, there was less Han Solo in the main three of the cast of Return of the Jedi, just towards just declining interest in the franchise. So there are these comparisons that come to mind when walking into this film, and I see where Sam is coming from. I see where Lacey and Carly are coming from as well. Like, I'm nodding my head the whole time because I acknowledge it all, but I had a good time with this movie. It felt like plot wise, yeah, we're not getting much new, and it lacked a little bit of that gritty look that I liked from the other two, but character wise, it's a real development and a growth in many ways, and that's what I really enjoyed and got out of the film was number one, seeing what happened to these guys in between years, and then once they're finally free, noticing how they're still themselves, but like much like real people, like they've changed over time, you know.
Yeah. The there are there's a few, I wouldn't say plot points, but there's a lot of beats that are the same.
And
Uh,
callbacks, like line
yes,
backs.
yeah, a few callbacks, and but the plot beats are definitely similar to Rejects. Just a few moments, especially when we get there.
He's
Uh,
writing these characters though. Like even though the script isn't as tight as something like Devil's Rejects, it's still tighter than something like a 31. So it's
yeah,
still Rob Zombie dialogue, but some of it's still a lot more quotable and memorable a lot of the time. Uh,
yeah,
so I'm excited to get into it. I had a pretty good time with it.
yeah. So this is the second time I've watched it, and I forgot how much I liked it, and I do remember having being like, yeah, it was very similar to Rejects, but now watching it again, I'm like, I can point out a few instances where, like I said, the beats follow, but at the same time, it's pretty damn different.
Yeah,
But I
because this
do remember when, huh?
Yeah, because this is a Rob Zombie like post Lords of Salem, so you definitely see like, especially in the color correction, there's a lot of progression in his filmmaking over that time. That he just integrates into this world to make it seem a little bit more connected with the callbacks. It's also kind of like a throwback movie, like a one last hurrah for these guys, and it's kind of like an Army of Darkness in a way where it's less of a horror movie now, and now we're dipping more into the genre fiction than ever before. It's more of like a crime western.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's got a crime western, and it's almost. This is gonna be weird, but they're almost like the Three fucking Stooges. If the Three Stooges were fucking madmen.
Well, it even goes to show because they're watching the Three Stooges in the movie, so I think
Yeah,
even
exactly. Like I started thinking about that. I was like, you know what? Motherfucking Otis is definitely Mo.
yes,
Baby is fucking Curly. And then you could say, the Midnight Wolfman is fucking Shemp.
right,
I wouldn't
right.
call him Larry because if anything, you could say Spalding was Larry. You know what I mean? And he's being replaced by fucking Shemp, who was Mo's fucking brother. And so here we got fucking this is Otis's brother coming in.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's perfect too because Spalding was there was always that old comedy connection with the Groucho Marx, so now it's kind of like the next evolution of that. Now that's just the three of them left, and that's what I mean by the character development. Is I like how they're still themselves, but they're a lot more mature. Devil's Rejects made them think on their feet, so now they're Otis in particular is a lot more methodical. I like how you compared him to be the Mo because he is the grouch of the group, but he's not as quick to explosive anger as he used to be, especially
Yeah,
with his brother.
he's definitely more trying to uh, act upon the lessons that he's learned.
He wouldn't be pulling up to a motel anymore with a dude's face going booga booga booga. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when they first announced this movie, I do remember that rumor that Sam talked about with them being rejected from hell, and that's how they'd be the devil's rejects. And I was like, please do not do that. I was like, the first two are very grounded in reality to an extent, especially with when you're talking about corpses. But I was like,
Dr.
please
Satan,
don't say what.
Dr. Satan.
Yeah, because I was like, that would be a dumb fucking reason uh, for them to come back to life. Because yeah, obviously that was meant to be the ending, but you could tell that Rob Zombie liked these characters a lot and didn't want that to be the ending. And he had said that he had been wanting to make a third film for a while, but other things got in the way. They worked on other movies and stuff. So I'm glad I made the joke at the beginning about the quick explanation on them surviving. But I am happier with that than I would be if they were like spat out of hell. Like, oh no, you guys can't fucking be in hell. You're too crazy for hell. You know?
Yeah, it still leaves it kind of open to your imagination if there's a supernatural element going on, because I love how Otis's response to half the stuff when he does get angry in this movie is just to flip it and just be like, I am that. That's not
Yeah,
impossible. I am impossible. He's like, you can't, how could the devil be after me? I am the devil. So he's got
yeah,
that streak going on that he took so many bullets that he basically feels invincible, but he's also smart enough to think of ways out of these situations more
yeah,
thoroughly.
yeah. Uh, and originally, yeah, the script was written where pretty much most of the stuff Richard Brake did would have been Captain Spaulding. It would have originally been the three of them together, but Zombie said that when uh, he first saw Sid and just saw how bad his health was, he was like, I can't put this dude through an entire movie with him being sick like this. And
Even
so that's when,
tell,
huh?
even still, you could tell that Sid didn't want to be anywhere else in the world. Like what little we do have of him, you could tell he's kind of lost a little bit of that Spaulding. Like he's definitely talking more just like normal Sid, just due to his
Yeah,
declining health. But it almost makes his monologue more powerful. Um, in the years that have passed, we see this weakened Captain Spaulding who's still there. He's just, he's done with the
yeah.
world.
Prison's done a lot to this man.
Yeah, he has no more to offer the world except to fuck around in the interviews, and that's kind of like where Baby's at too. All of them are kind of at a point where they've known how to master their fuckery, and I like that we get this big media blitz. If you were going to have them survive, like you said, rejecting them out of hell would be too unrealistic. And I'm not saying these movies are realistic, but this whole media backlash of Free the Three, it
Yeah,
does have foot in reality because it's very Ted Bundy, very Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, very
yeah,
Charles Manson. I even think of the West Memphis Three, like even though they were innocent,
yeah.
it still has that ring to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I love the entire opening of this movie with that stuff. It's like watching a true crime documentary, like a over the top true crime documentary. And I think it's a great way for all that beginning exposition and shit. It was just cool as fuck. And then the news, all the little news clippings, and Daniel Roebuck coming back as Morris Green.
Of
Uh,
course, it kind of reminded me of the end credits to the first Boondock Saints when they're doing like the little newsreel of like what they think of the vigilantes, and you got like all the multiple different takes. People thinking that they're horrible, people thinking that they're heroes, people are obsessing over Baby, which would definitely happen. That definitely rings true to like Manson family fanaticism and stuff like that.
yeah.
So I think right off the bat, that was a very fascinating opening, and it got me sold for the rest of the movie, especially knowing that that's all we were going to get of Sid Haig. He's got some very memorable quotes going on. He still has that intensity in his eyes. All hail the man behind the grease paint. Love that.
Yeah. What's the difference between a dead squirrel in the road and a dead clown in the road?
What I noticed too is that we get a Chaz Bono cameo during the newsreels. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did not.
So keep an eye out because once again, Rob Zombie is really uh, employing his like I'm just gonna cast whoever I feel like in this movie. Um, and of course, Jeff Daniel Phillips is in this movie, but I got
Yeah.
to admit, like not until later in the movie was I really sold on having him here. Like I kind of knew he was gonna be here, but I didn't really enjoy the performance until he started doing blow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's supposed to be a dickhead warden. Uh, oh, Virgin Dallas Harper.
Yeah, with this fucking like
Killer
goofy ass
mustache.
mustache. He kind of has like, remember Sheriff Whitell's buddy? He has like the same sunglasses as him
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the little cowboy shirt on.
And so also 10 years has passed. It is now 1988. Uh, they talk about how it's the longest trial in American history.
Which would it
But yeah,
really be if there's 1,000 corpses found? Like it's literally they mentioned it on the news, the House of 1,000 Corpses incident. So I
yeah,
mean, would they really be up for parole?
right? Seriously. Um,
I do love the
but
little interview that they have with Otis behind the bars because like there's the shaky cam going on, but it's still a little bit more centered and focused than 31's shaky cam. And everything that Otis is saying is, right on point. And talking about how they've changed over time, like even physically, um, Bill Moseley, Otis is no longer the skinny one in the family anymore. He's got a little bit of like a pudge or like a flab to him. Like he's still skinny, but not as rail thin as he was in the previous two movies. So you see the march of time on these people and that they've kind of just been locked away with the key thrown out.
yeah. And so, yeah, I liked Jeff Daniel Phillips, but I did like him better after he started doing the blow and was just like freaking out. Uh,
Exactly. Like that's where his performance was able to really branch out a little bit and play to his strengths, be a little bit more goofy because he he is always goofy in this movie, and in the earlier parts of the movie where it's meant to be taken a little bit more seriously, I can't really, which is tough to say because I could take him seriously in Lords of Salem just fine.
yeah, but speaking of old Jeff Daniel Phillips, he's finally back as the caveman on Geico.
Right, we finally got him back. Kick that lizard right out of there. I
Oh,
don't care like if we never see like Robert Downey Jr. return as Tony Stark. Like I could die happy knowing that hey, the caveman's back.
yeah.
Everything is as it should be. So
Yeah,
easy, even a caveman can do it.
yeah, and damn. So some of these events before the final, before they get to the warden's house. So I like after the so Otis is on a work detail and he's sitting right across fucking Danny Trejo. What the fuck was his character's name? Mondo.
Yeah,
Um,
so this is kind of what's confusing is that it is a possible cameo from Rondo, but he doesn't remember Otis. And there's I've been thinking about this. There's various reasons why he might not remember Otis. If it is Rondo, he doesn't remember Otis because Diamond Dallas Page threw him out of the window. Like Otis didn't take on Rondo. But at the same time, you'd think a bounty hunter would still be aware of who their target was, you know?
yeah,
So,
he is definitely credited as Rondo, but at the
oh,
same time, I'm thinking, he could not remember Otis because how many people has he had to kill? So he's not remembering faces. But then at the same time, he could just be talking shit like I don't remember you, just to piss him off.
yeah, but even when he's about to die, he's like crying, like, "Who are you?" So it leads me to believe it's like if you didn't see him credited as Rondo, you could sit there like that might just be Danny Trejo playing a completely different character. But since it's credited as Rondo, it makes you wonder like what happened in his story that now led
Yeah, how
him
did
to
he
be
wind up in
in
the same prison?
the same
Because
gang as
like
his victim.
what made me go, I'm like, obviously it's Rondo because he's like, remember me, motherfucker? He's like, no, but so that to me is like the main key of that it's Rondo. But yeah, but I do like during this true crime documentary, it's like, yes, this right here is the only footage of the escape. And then it just cuts, and like it's just chaos. Everybody's fucking dead. You got motherfucking Richard Brake fucking just shooting everybody, and goddamn Otis fucking kills Rondo, and
Yeah,
then
it's
they
so silly. Just looking at the screens like, oh my god. Oh my lord, they're free again.
like Mikey, I was good to you, Mikey.
Mikey, who even are you? I don't
Yeah,
even know who you are under that mask.
I was good to you, Otis.
Die, motherfucker. He said payback is a bitch.
And so
This
yeah,
movie starts
damn.
like a little bit of the CG blood going on, which this movie is full of CG blood, but which is a nitpick of mine. I don't particularly like it. It doesn't look great, but um, you know, it's not an end all be all kind of dilemma.
It's better looking CG blood than I've seen in other movies. Uh, and I guess they can control it better, obviously. But yeah, it's just sadly where we are now in cinema.
And so Richard Brake plays Winslow. So he is Otis's real brother, or was he
Uh,
just saying that because they were in the
they
chain gang?
say they say half brother during the newsreel,
Gotcha. Because he
which
definitely takes more of that Otis aesthetic with the longer blonde hair, the paler skin, and he's now the skinny one of the group, basically. Like he's more rail thin. He's still in his Doomhead bod, Richard Brake, basically, just with a beard.
yeah, it's cool because it's like I totally believe him as having grown up with them up to a certain point in their lives. He just fits so well with Baby and Otis as a brother character that any other time you would see something like this, it's like, yeah, really, da 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 da. But no, like their interactions together, it's pretty damn believable that they would be related.
Yeah, and I like that too, that this kind of warrants like why this movie exists, that it's like we've completed the whole family dynamic now where it's like this is the next generation basically. Now it's just left to the children basically who are grown adults, but you know, in their world they were under Mama's matriarch, they were under Spalding's, like they may not have gotten along with him, but there were people in control where now it's them. And I love that scene later in the movie where it's like, you know, we could still cause a hell of a lot of destruction. And Richard Brake is gung ho about it. He's like, what about me? Am I fucking invisible or something?
Yeah.
Like, so he's entering the Firefly family with open arms. Like, in a way, they're no longer the Fireflies, but the Firefly has cocooned and evolved.
Yeah. And look at his full name, Winslow Foxworth Foxy Coltrane.
This dude needs to release an album.
Yeah, they call him the Midnight Wolfman.
I'm the Midnight Wolfman, motherfucker.
And so yeah, so there's that escape. I like when it cuts to it's uh Warden Virgil, and I'm guessing that's his wife, uh chilling, watching it with him. Um and he's all bitching about they made me look like a fucking moron, and
Yeah, because, you know, the cameras did that.
yeah. And so they talk about how, yeah, a news brief. Yeah, they're still on the loose, and they're so I'm guessing it shows some shit with Baby at the prison, and
Yeah, she gets up for parole, and I think it's so funny where they do this quick little music video moment of her walking out of her cell in slow motion, and it's like, that's right, Sherry, look directly into the camera, just like that. Yeah, yeah. You know, she could have been looking like maybe a little bit off, but she's like just mugging directly into the camera. And then she does like this light little shuffle on her feet when she comes out to greet the board, and she's acting all crazy and cutesy and being denied parole.
Yeah, she's like, they do. What do these pictures tell you? And she's just like, well, why you got to bring up the past, man? That was like 100 years ago.
You actually think that was 100 years ago? That line cracked me up.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah,
And we're
I like how the one guy who's like leading the parole hearing is just has a random nosebleed or what? I don't know. Or maybe he's got a runny nose, but he's like holding this napkin up to his nose the whole time. There's like no reason for it. It's just real to me. Like,
these little details that Rob likes to throw in. Like it made me think of when that one guy gets shot by the shotgun later and the lady's reaction to it when she has the brains all over her face. Like it's kind of funny because it's not the typical reaction you see in a movie, but I could see Rob's thinking of like that's probably closer in line to like how weird and fucking out there an experience like that would be out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
one of the other guards in the parole hearing is played by Kevin Jackson, and I just like his whole performance in this movie. He's got a great vibe, asking her the questions, and then as it continues, when he becomes the victim of Otis's house call, I thought he did a great job. Do you think if you could walk out that door, you know, you could live a productive life, and she's just doing herself no favors because there's a plan going on?
yeah, and she don't even really know about the plan, really.
Right. She's just kind of like, hey, I
Just
get
accepted her
3 meals
life.
a day. Yeah. She's too busy hallucinating like cat women in her cell room.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but I liked it. That was your Rob Zombie, Stanley Kubrick moment for this film, and that was a
Yeah, that was your
creepy
Hollow
ass
2 moment.
costume.
Yeah, I didn't like how the mouth moved on it. It was really unnerving, but she seemed to really like it. She wanted it back.
Yeah, she was all crying when the curtains closed. But so yeah, she is denied parole and just starts beating up the damn old D Wallace. Uh, Fucking headbutts her, and so they start beating the shit out of her with the damn little nightclubs, nightsticks. What are the things called?
Yeah, the nightsticks. But what was the warden character's name? Because she gets like a whole subplot with Sherry Moon, basically, where it's a game of just getting into each other's heads, setting
Oh,
up
you
each
talking
other.
about D Wallace,
Yeah,
the
like I'm trying to remember the character's
guard?
name.
That's Greta.
Greta. I was gonna say Gretchen. Um, Fucking great little subplot they have there that really gets under your skin. Like the scenes where after, because she breaks Greta's nose, and she's like, "You fucking bitch," and then she really has it out for her.
Yeah,
But then Baby tries to play with her sexually, basically, and it really does have an effect on Greta. So I like how even for like the side character, we're really getting to know these people on an intimate level, and it's kind of
yeah,
unnerving. She
yeah,
sets Baby up in a trap.
yeah. She takes baby, uh, and they're walking through this I don't know, broiler room area of the prison, but I'm like, oh shit, she's taking her to 31.
Welcome to 31.
Yeah, it's like Rob's like, oh shit, well, you know what, we still got the 31 set, might as well use some of it.
Right. Just change the lighting up a little bit. Hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just don't make it too obvious.
Yeah, but yeah, she locks her in that room, and she's like, have fun, and baby's just giving her shit. Then you got these two women that bust in there, and I'm guessing that the women are supposed to beat her up and rape her and shit. But this was probably one of the worst action scenes in the movie, because the camera, you're just hearing cuts and slices and hits, and the camera's just moving fast. You don't really know what's going on, and I get it. I really get it because you're supposed to think they're doing a good number on baby, and then the joke is when Greta comes walking back down, she's like, I see, I hope you've solved the problem. And she's like, yeah, problem solved. And it's her. And the other two are dead as fuck.
Which is
laying their guts
okay.
hanging out and shit.
In reality, there's no way Sherry would be able to take on them because the bigger lady of that group that jumps her is actually like an arm wrestling champion,
Oh
I was
yeah,
told. Yeah, apparently she was on Glee if you're looking for another role that she was in. But in real life, like arm wrestling fucking champ, I don't think Sherry would be able to compete with that arm. But
yeah,
I like
especially in
how
the cuffs and shit.
Sherry's performance goes back and forth with me in this one. It's definitely not my favorite of hers, but there are still some nice touches. Like I love how she could go from playful baby while fucking with Greta behind the cage, but then the moment Greta walks away, like she turns around and you could see the worry in her eyes as she's thinking of a strategy, you know.
Yeah, I like that you get House of a Thousand Corpses, baby, and you get Devil's Rejects, baby, where it's like a back and forth between the crazy shit and the normal shit. She really fell back into this role pretty good too.
Yeah, she still has the iconic laugh. And yeah, so she ends up beating them and getting to Greta.
Yeah, and so now we get another little news brief of goddamn some sheriff guy and Virgil talking to the news about Otis and Richard. They're like, yeah, these guys are armed and dangerous, and we know that some of y'all want to be heroes out there. And goddamn. Well, before that happens, we get our first real interaction with Otis and Winslow. I guess they're just hanging. I don't know where they're hanging out at. Somewhere at night, and there's this great uh, talking about. Oh yeah, I've always liked Cagney the best, and fucking Otis talking about Bogart and shit, and
Yeah,
uh,
this was a good example of Rob Zombie dialogue where it still is very much in line with his tropes, but it's a lot more focused. As, like I said, this is where I really noticed the maturity in Otis, where he engages with the conversation about Bogart and Cagney, but he also has to keep things on track. You know, he has to keep his brother from getting distracted. You know, now he has to be the older brother.
yeah, and it makes sense too. All right, so it's 1988. These guys obviously got to be in their 50s. They've got to be in their early 50s at this point. Uh, and so they would have definitely grown up watching all this shit. I mean, especially later on, you got him watching that old Quasimodo and all that shit. But yeah, so there's that. There's our first interaction with those two characters, and that's a great ass scene. But yeah, so now they're just like sleeping out in the woods, and this hunter guy comes up to Richard Brake, and then his wife shows up. They both fucking got guns on him, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And
Yeah, this scene was beginning to annoy me because it was a little bit more of that motherfucker, motherfucker dialogue. But then, boom, the shotgun goes off. And that's what I mean. Her reaction is like hilarious and scary all at the same time as Otis
yeah,
just rolls up on them.
I like it when because fucking Richard Brake's just fucking with him, and dude's like, "Yeah, yeah, any last words or something?" And he just starts talking about titties, and it just throws the guy the fuck off, and
That's what I'm
just
saying. The
distracts
dialogue
him.
bounces back. The dialogue bounces back where it's like, that's a really good punchline. Like, dude was thinking about titties. And
Yeah,
that's
and
exactly.
and she's like, "Kill him, just kill him, just kill him," and then boom, motherfucking yeah. And her reaction is great because it's probably fucking pretty believable because she probably doesn't realize what the fuck just happened.
Right, and she's got fucking brain matter all over her face. It's shocking. And then even Richard Brake, fucking Otis is like, "Are you crying?" And he's like, "Dude, I got
Yeah,
a piece of skull in my eye. Shit hurts."
yeah. He's like, "See, piece of skull," and he flicks it back at Otis. I fucking love that shit. Oh man, and she's all like, she's starting to realize what the fuck's going on, and she's like, you could just let me go, and he's like, that's a cool knife. Is it sharp? I don't know, or why? And he's like, you really don't want to know, and boom, cut her fucking face clean off, got it hanging up on the damn tree.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, peeled face. Like, because we've always seen him do like the peeled face off thing, but never actually see the person post face peeling.
Yeah,
So
and
that
she's
was a
still
really
alive,
fucking
tied to the fucking
detail.
tree. Face is all fucked up.
My face is off. Yeah, that was a really gruesome detail. And then Sherry fucking is having moments with Jeff Daniel Phillips where going back to the Star Wars comparison, like she's basically just trying to like pick at her brain with the Force basically, but he's just useless going up against her. I love the whole little story that she tells. And then he goes like, yeah, well, what was the point of all that? Because he's talking about a cat and she just goes, meow. I'm
Yeah,
like,
fucking, she's like, I was out on a stroll, saw a cat in a hole, tried to save the cat, but it scratched me. Damn, but yeah, what he's trying to do, he's trying to find out who let her out and put her down there. Because now he's got a lot of shit he's got to deal with.
I just,
Because
that
now
whole
he's got
vibe.
two dead people down in the basement.
Right. That whole vibe of just her fucking with him though and just not giving any information. It's like, yeah, I've dealt with people like that before on a less gruesome scale, but it's like I think we all know people where it's like just what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. And
But
so
I
they put
also love I also love the previous line. Like before even the hunters come up, it was during the Cagney scene. This is important to the plot. Winslow is like, "What are we going to do?" And very sternly, Otis goes, "Well, we got to make a house call." So you kind of left wondering what that house call is going to be.
yeah. And see, they put her back in the hole. Motherfucking Greta comes up talking about, I see you kept your mouth shut. That's good, cause snitches get stitches, and I see you've already got your stitches.
And Sherry just gets all into her mind. Snitches get stitches. That's cute. And this is the scene that I'm telling you that really got under my skin because it's one thing to just say like, "Oh, I'm in your mind. You fantasize about me, yada yada yada." But um, you know, through Dee Wallace's performance, it's like, oh, it's actually true. You know what I mean? There
Yeah,
actually
Steve
is some
Wallace is fucking
situation
all
with baby.
into it.
She gets all into it. Like, I've been watching you. I see you take my picture home. You fantasize about me. And I love how, she's sitting there, like, contemplating Dee Wallace. Like, do I unlock the door? Do I go in there? Like, what do I do? She's licking her lips. And then finally, she's just like, no. She just fucking shuts the fucking hole in her face.
Yeah. And so yeah, Otis's house call. This is probably the first sort of plot beat that is similar to Rejects. So we have Virgil and the other guy coming home from work. It's late, and he walks into his house and he's calling for his wife. Lights are off. Ain't nobody there. It seems. And then they walk into the kitchen and both wives are tied up. And Otis and Midnight Wolfman uh, chilling in there in the goddamn kitchen, dining room.
And it also is kind of like a throwback to House of a Thousand Corpses at first, too. As the scene progresses, it kind of feels like they're trying to top or at least be in line with the motel scene from Rejects. But the way it begins before they do the whole plan to break baby out, just with the whole dinner scene, is very much like a more scaled back House of a Thousand Corpses, Texas Chainsaw Massacre type ordeal. Kevin Jackson's character ends up getting shot. And there's that really fucked up moment with Richard Brake playing with playing with his wife's
Playing
mom's
with the
body.
ashes. That's my. You get your filthy hands out of my mom's ass. He's like, fly away, mama, fly away.
That was really bad. Like I loved that. Like because I was laughing, but also like kind of shuddering to myself because again, he perfectly fits in with the Firefly family where it's like this bullying, this like toying with your prey kind of thing where it's like I'm gonna find something really precious to you. Like you may act like you're not afraid of me if you fuck with me. I'm gonna find what means to you the most and make it my prop, basically.
Yeah, because they're sitting there just terrorizing them. But I'm going to say this is similar to the hotel scene in Rejects, but at the same time, I think I like this one better because it feels there's a little more of a point to it. Whereas, if I'm thinking correctly, the Rejects hotel scene is really just there for them to terrorize motherfuckers.
Right. And again, it
Whereas,
plays into that character progression where, yeah, they really just couldn't control themselves. They weren't used to being on the run, so they just did this gruesome, grotesque scene. Then also, like on Rob Zombie, on like a filmmaking standpoint, very much like it just shows his own growth and development when crafting scenes like this. Like I think in all the interviews we've seen post Rejects with the cast and crew, them talking about what it went into making that motel room scene. Like, I don't think it's a situation necessarily he wanted to go through again. Not that anybody necessarily had a horrible time with it, but he's like, there's got to be a better, more tasteful way of doing this, you know?
yeah, because they got a whole point. They're at the warden's house. They want to get the warden to bust baby out. So like, yeah, it has more to do with the plot for me, uh, as opposed to they just go to this hotel and happen to see these vulnerable motherfuckers and fuck with them.
Right. And then also, I mean, it has a point until Clint Howard shows up.
Yeah, like so. Yeah, they're just terrorizing them a little bit. Then there's a knock at the door, and then that's another beat that is real similar, like when Brian Posehn shows up at the hotel. Uh, but they open the door, and it's this random ass fucking clown. But my question is, because they're like, nobody, we're not expecting anybody. So my question is, it's gotta be late. You know what I mean?
Yeah, who the fuck ordered the clown and who's doing a clown service that late?
Yeah, why is a clown showing up to somebody's house with all his shit at, let's say, 9 o'clock at night?
And
Like, what the fuck?
another thing that
Like,
I love is that when this movie was coming out, there was a lot of articles about how like Clint Howard has been cast in Rob Zombie's film as quote the new clown character. Like, not really. Like they were trying to set him up like he was going to be like the next Captain Spaulding or something like that. And then when he shows up, like it's a whole mockery. The squeaking shoes, the background music, the bad jokes. Like they basically just make his horrible act like another form of their torment.
yeah, and so he tells them, if you make me laugh, we'll let you go. And yeah, so he's fucking nervous. I like it too when he's pulling out all his props and he pulls out the fake gun and it shoots off and it has the little bang thing. And he's like, oh, well that's not fun. And yeah, it's sort of just useless. I mean, eventually you find out that they're driving around in the clown's van, but I don't know why this clown needed to show up.
It's just another random, scenario that entered Rob Zombie's skull.
Yeah, and I mean I like it. It's funny, but like I'm just like it's 9 o'clock at night. What the fuck is a clown doing?
And
Uh,
only Rob Zombie, like, here's the situation with the screenplay. The situation is we need our characters to find a mode of transportation to get them from one place to the other. Only Rob Zombie would be like, oh, well, a party clown has to show up, of course.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So he's sitting there trying to do tricks, and finally Otis gets up and starts clapping, pulls the gun out, and then clown guy starts to piss his pants, and Otis, oh shit, he made me laugh. Well,
You'll
damn.
let me go?
Straight to clown heaven.
The tears of a clown.
So rest in peace. What's the motherfucker's name? Like Baggy Britches.
Yes, yes. I think
Yeah,
it was Colonel Baggy Britches.
Mr. Baggy Britches.
Baggy trousers. Baggy trousers. That's what he
We
should have
hope
had playing in the
you.
background. But I love the creepy clown music going on, like really enhanced the unnervingness of the scene because there is just something so upsetting about a guy desperately trying to do a clown act to a bunch of crying, tied up people.
Yeah, yeah.
Like usually the clown is in on the torment and enjoying it, but it's like he also is like, this sucks, like tough crowd.
It's like wrong place, wrong time, clown.
And he was
But
just there for a good time and a paycheck.
yeah. So yeah, shoot him. Um,
I hate clowns. We got that call back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I fucking hate clowns. So what's the name of God? I don't want to say. What'd you say, Kevin? What?
It was Kevin Jackson, and he was, let me just IMDb real quick. I had it up for a second because he was one of the guards. He's credited as guard.
Gerald James. So
Yes.
is he the guy that's there?
He's during the dinner scene. Yeah, he's the one that gets shot. He was
Okay.
during the parole scene as well when he was introduced.
Or Gerard James. There's no
Yeah,
L
I
in
think
there.
it's Gerard.
Yeah. So, yeah, he gets shot in the stomach. Uh, and so Otis is telling Virgil, yeah, you're gonna break her out. And he's like, it's impossible, man. And I believe that's when we get fucking impossible. I'm impossible.
Yeah, that's like his wrestling name. I am the impossible. Stepping into the ring.
Speaking of wrestling, who'd have thought this would have turned out to be a motherfucking uh, El Super Beasto crossover toward
I was
the
gonna bring that up later in the movie. I was gonna say like one of them in that gang's got to be El Super Bisto.
end. But yeah. So the whole plan is he's supposed to go there the next day, demand to see baby and put a guard outfit on her. And so I like it. He leaves that morning and gets in the car, and for a second, it's like he's almost thinking about, should I get the authorities involved or should I fucking uh, just go ahead and go through with it? And it's like any sane motherfucker, yo ass is free right now. They aren't even going with you.
Yeah,
This
better
is
put the whole kibosh on it right then and there. But instead, I'm gonna
yeah,
go crush coke on my desk and fucking it's alpha time.
yeah. Yeah, it's me, motherfucker. It's alpha time.
This is when I started to love. This is the Jeff Daniel Phillips we all know and love.
Yeah, yeah. But so yeah, it's like, bro, they are putting a lot of trust in your ass. Uh, they are straight up sending you there on the honor system alone.
Yeah,
And
he's a
and
useful idiot.
yeah, exactly. Uh, you are about to walk into a castle of police, motherfucker.
Most of which you have intimate relationships with, as we're gonna soon find out. But another
Yeah.
detail that made me kind of like Jeff Daniel Phillips in these final moments of his character is dude's driving around in a Delta 88. That's like my dream
Yeah.
car.
There you go.
Dude's just fucking high on coke, loving life, driving around in his 88, and I'm like, now the mustache makes sense.
And so yeah, so this lady walks in and brings him the guard outfit, and motherfucking what does he say? Thank you, officer, or something like that.
Yeah, he
And
goes,
she's like,
"Thank you, Sergeant." And she's like,
yeah,
"Sergeant, you don't remember my name? You remembered my name last week."
when you had your hands all down my pants, you want me to tell your wife?
He's like, "Just get
And
the fuck out of here."
hey, just get the fuck out. So
He should have been like, "I am high on cocaine."
yeah. So D Wallace and the other lady come bringing baby in there, and he's like, yeah, just leave her, da da da, just leave her in here. And D Wallace is like, I'm gonna hang back, make sure everything's okay. And
Basically, like a fly being lured into the web, basically, because you know her end is coming soon.
yeah. And so he hands her the note because he mentions, yeah, she's gonna kill me as soon as she sees me. He's like, well, I'm gonna give you a note, and she'll know what you're here to do. So he shows her the note, and it looks like fucking Charlie from Sunny in Philadelphia wrote this fucking note.
I didn't
But
think about that, but it's true. It's just such a fucking like the handwriting on it.
but I like her reaction to it. She just starts laughing. She's like, "Oh, you got yourself good and fucked this time."
And then what happens after that? So he,
Well, right here is where he hands her the guard outfit, and she starts playing around. She's like, "No peeking, no peeking, don't look." And she's putting the guard outfit on, and then D Wallace like starts beating on the door. What's going on in there? And he's like,
right,
"It's fine." And so she busts in there, and
she's
motherfucking
behind the door.
baby just chokes her ass out. She's like,
What
"Bitch
is
had it
she?
coming."
Yes, that's what she says. Because I remember her sneaking up behind the door. It was kind of like a tame killing, but like I think the build up from the characters is what made it hit really well as he chokes her out, as she chokes her out slowly.
Yeah, and I like too that her broken ass nose starts bleeding too.
Yeah, dude, that was pretty gnarly. But then they make it out of there because you can see on Jeff Daniel Phillips' face, like, should I watch this? Should I do something? But then he's just kind of like, fuck, man. Like, I've already chosen my path, I guess.
Yeah. And so yeah, now it shows they're all chilling. They got the white girl naked. Uh, dude, damn Gerard is still alive, sitting there, laying on the ground, barely breathing. Damn, they're watching Three Stooges, and motherfucking so Jeff Daniel Phillips and Baby bust in there, and it's your little reunion, and shit goes crazy. So
Yeah, this is
Jeff,
where it becomes like an updated version of the motel scene because shit starts to go in slow motion. We have a
yeah, puts on some country song.
naked girl running out in slow motion. I think Sherry Moon's knife run with that smile on her face is hilarious, as like she's just so happy to be out and back to what she does best.
Yeah, and check it. It's such a visual callback to the Run Rabbit Run.
Mhm.
Because when she gets her, she gets on top of her and just starts fucking just stabbing the shit out of this chick.
And doing the
Uh,
classic laugh, and then the way it ends is perfect. Where
that
um,
old lady's just watching, like, okay.
Granny's smoking with her oxygen tank, just casually watching a murder.
Yeah, she's like, "Hi, Granny," and she just waves. But yeah, so when all the shit goes down, it's because Jeff Daniel Phillips decides to be a badass and fucking shoots, but accidentally shoots Judy. That's her name, I guess. Judy shoots her in the fucking chest, and goddamn, fucking yeah, just motherfuckers. The sequence of events eludes me.
From there, I think they actually do have to go to a motel. So it's funny how I compare the scene before the actual motel scene to the
Yeah,
previous
because what's
motel scene.
great, I like it because after they kill everybody, baby busts back in and she's like, yeah, so the old lady next door just watched me gut this bitch. And fucking the Otis's reaction is like, God damn it. all right, everybody, get your shit. Come on, let's go. And you hear the police in the background. Fucking, they're like, all right. And she's like,
I
ooh,
mean,
look at this bow and arrow. Do you think it's real? You're like, come on, let's fucking go.
that's what I mean by like they've matured because like in the previous, this is what I mean. There's no more ooga booga. There's no more like skinning people's faces unless I guess it's necessary in their minds. The moment he sees blood on the floor, he's like, well, we got to get moving again
Yeah,
immediately.
time to go. So
Cover our
yeah, then it
trail.
cuts. It cuts, and they're staring at this shitty old motel. And I like this. They're talking, and they're like, "Where are we gonna go?" You know, and I ain't going in there. Everybody knows me. And he's like, "Fucking." He's like, "What? I'm public enemy number one. They're definitely gonna recognize me." He's like, "Well, they're gonna Everybody knows this mug." He's like, "What? For them two-bit crimes you do?" And she's like, "Let me drive." And they're like, "No."
Yeah, this
And
is where the real brother and sister dichotomy comes out between Otis and Baby again, where they're kind of like, fuck you, fuck you. But then, Winslow just, getting introduced to Baby and stuff like that, like he takes a liking to her pretty quickly and is like, you got to be easier on her, you know. Why are you such a fucking grouch? She's just happy to be out. And he's like, I love this interaction of you don't know her like the way I do, man. She's changed. She's gotten wacky.
yeah, and he's like, she's gonna get us pulled over within 5 minutes of her sliding her ass in this seat.
It's true though, because it's like she hasn't driven for 10 years. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, Otis has at least had a few days of practice.
Yeah, dude, he could at least get to Haddonfield, which is like 100 miles away or something.
And so yeah, she's like, I'll go in there and get us a room. And yeah, he mentioned, fucking Richard Brake is like, oh yeah, I can't drive, I got this night blindness.
Well, yeah, he doesn't want to run into any more cows.
Yeah,
He's seen what
exactly,
happens.
exactly.
But that also could be seen as a House of a Thousand Corpses callback because Chris Hardwick, I can't see at night. Do you want me to, there's that whole interaction.
Yeah. And so she's like, fucking, they get the hotel room and they're chilling in the hotel room, and there's some great interactions here too. She's like getting Nancy, and she's wanting to damn. She's like, I want to get some fucking action. He's like, the last thing you need right now is some fucking action. And old Richard Brake throws her a little bag of joints, and she's smoking on them. And Otis and Midnight Wolfman are sitting there playing Go Fish, as far as I can tell.
I
And
remember when she said I wanted some act thinking about the Poison song.
I want action tonight.
Action
Which, speaking
tonight.
of which, this movie takes place in 1988, and not a single 80s song is played.
It's true. I was just under the assumption that it was still in the 70s, which is really stupid of me because it's like I processed that they said 10 years, but it's like, and that goes to show why it's not as gritty looking as the previous movie now that I think about it. But yeah, aside from that, they really don't give you much. Even like, look at Jeff Daniel Phillips. You think a dude's really rocking that in the 80s? Like, at least movie wise, Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
need to be big shoulder pads, but you can at least kind of make him look like a Vice motherfucker.
yeah, seriously. Um, but so she's getting ready to leave. Like, where do you think you're going? So I'm just gonna go get a soda. So she walks out, and she sees
One
this
of my
guy.
favorite side characters. One of my favorite side characters, the mariachi cosplayer.
Yeah, and I swear to God, this guy looks so much like uh Danger Aaron from fucking Jackass.
He does. I was trying to place a finger because I knew that I didn't know the actor, but he still had like a face that's like he looks like somebody. I was trying to put my finger on it.
But yeah, it looks. I don't think it's him, but damn it, he looks just fucking like him.
In the
And she's
moment, I
all
was
like, "Oh shit!" And she's all like, yeah, you want to have a party? No, 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 no. And he's just like, yeah, I don't. What does he say? I don't have any money. I can't pay you. She's like, this party's free. So
Yeah. And then I
he's,
love how he's like, you kind of look like that girl who was on the news. And she's like, it's me, baby. And that just like heart sinking feeling of, we're going to party. Don't you want to party? He's like, I don't want to.
yeah. So she gets her little soda. She's like, give me the one that'll give me the best buzz. And he's like, orange drink? No. A root beer? No. Grape? And she's like, okay. And a grape soda. I fucking hate grape soda. But
Oh, I
yeah.
love it. But,
And I don't think you see her kill him.
no, you don't. She just kind of shows up with blood all over her shoes, and then she mentions it. But this
Yeah,
whole time,
I love this because she busts back into the hotel room and they're like, oh shit, and what the fuck you been doing? And she says something, and then fucking Otis is like, what the fuck is that blood? She's like, yeah, I had a little trouble at the soda machine. and, uh,
I
and
love the
he's
way
instantly,
Otis says
God
that
damn
too.
it, everybody get your shit. Come on, let's go.
Once again, just got to keep moving. It's like a vacation movie. Like they become the Griswolds. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
fucking
funny hearing
hilarious.
Otis react to blood in that way. Like he of all people would be like, "Is that blood?"
But yeah, I like to when she's gone, we get Richard Brake and Otis chilling in the hotel room, and Richard Brake's like, "Hey man, I got this idea, man. We should get into the movies, man. I'm talking like the Triple X movies, man. Everybody likes to see other people fucking, man." And he's like, "And look, I got it all planned out. It can be the salami man, right?" And the guy knocks on the door, and she's like, "Show me your salami, motherfucker." And and then he starts fucking her in the ass, and the dog's right there just watching. But they're not gonna fuck the dog. Otis is like, why not?
This is peak
That whole
Rob
shit is
Zombie dialogue.
hilarious.
And again, with these
And,
characters, it's just right at home, so it doesn't seem like, out of place them doing this. And Richard Brake's character in particular has like a fascination with the movies and Hollywood and referencing. He wants
yeah,
to
yeah,
be one
yeah,
of those characters. Later with the lady who he's with, he's like, I'm going to take you to the movies. She's like, you're going to take me to Hollywood? He's like, yeah, something like that.
yeah. And so when
When it
she
comes
says,
to
"Let's
the
go to Mexico," huh?
when it comes to the mariachi guy, before we get further away from the scene, like even though I was trying to place a finger of who I thought he looked like, I was secretly like wishing to myself, I'm like, man, they should have got Rainn Wilson to play this guy. I want to see him come back to the Rob Zombie universe.
Yeah, it'd have been great for Rainn Wilson as a little throwback, but then at the same time, it'd have been like, "The fuck? How you still alive? Come on, Ray."
Just play a different character.
But
Mariachi man.
but yeah, so she comes up with the idea, let's go to Mexico. Nobody's gonna be looking for us there.
Which is like the classic getaway spot in movies. So I started to get like From Dusk Till Dawn vibes, and this is where the western, because this whole time it's been more of like a crime movie with like horror elements, but now we're kind of going into like the western showdown feel. And this is where I could see a lot of people making the big comparisons to Devil's Rejects, because this is where this is the on the run segment basically.
Yeah,
Like the first half
and
of this movie was just setting up how are we going to get baby out of jail, refreshing us on what the characters have been up to for the past 10 years. And now it's like we've reached the second act, but it's almost like this is where the movie really begins. I feel like whatever goes on like from here must have been like some more of Rob Zombie's initial ideas of what was going to happen with Captain Spaulding and stuff like that, where there was probably less revisions from here with just the addition of Richard Brake, because I feel like the monologue where Sherry talks about Tiny, like Matthew McGrory passed away like right after Devil's Rejects, so I feel like all this stuff with Sebastian, all the Mexico stuff, I feel like must have like maybe been intact. You know what I mean?
yeah, And when they
I
get
feel
to
like
Mexico, that's another plot beat that is similar to Rejects because it's this trashy little pleasure town, and the guy that runs it turns them in.
Yeah, it's very much a Charlie Altamont segment, and I do like that they didn't repeat like the same character as Charlie Altamont. I'm trying to remember the dude's name who does set them up, but he's a good performance in his own right. I thought he was hilarious, just with the way he talked and his whole vibe. And listen, man, I'm cool. I'm cool.
Yeah. So they get there and they're kind of just scoping the place out with the binoculars, and yeah, it's like this nasty little shitty pleasure town.
Yeah, dude, and Otis gets a great line where he's like, "This looks like the armpit of La Cucaracha and the cunt end of nowhere."
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, we can get a room here for a couple days.
But this is like halfway through the movie where like the main antagonist, like it's been set up, like we figured that out, but the main antagonist, like the wide L of this movie, is basically Rondo's brother, this or son, the son of
Yeah, son.
Trino.
Aquarius.
And he basically gets them set up in a similar situation, like I said, to the Charlie Altamont. The dude that they're shacking with calls him up and he's like, "I got something you've been looking high and low for." Because what's it called? This guy was about to hang up on him, Aquarius, like in the first place. Like, I know a lot of people named Carlos. He's like, "Well, this is the
Yeah.
Carlos that got you, those 100 pounds of blow."
Yeah, and you've been paid. What do you want?
So that whole interaction was fucking phenomenal. And again, like I acknowledge that, yeah, it's not a necessarily original plot beat, but I like how, okay, so this is where like the final act of the Firefly family is building up to, that they just literally cannot catch a break with anybody, no matter
Yeah.
how far they run. There's always going to be somebody they crossed, there's always a new villain in the Firefly family.
Yeah, and he says, just make sure to have 3 coffins laid out and ready.
Wah, wah,
Yeah,
wah.
I love the Spanish music that is playing when they get there. Especially like there's one where you got this cool fucking bass, dum 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 dum, and this fucking awesome nylon string guitar just jamming.
Yeah, and they happen to show up like right around Dia de los Muertos.
Yeah, which you could
Get the whole
also
day vibe going.
yeah, because you could also say that it starts off it takes place on Halloween because when they're at the hotel, I believe, and they're watching it there, Dr. Wolfenstein's creature feature.
He's back, baby. And it goes to show like they finally have like the explanation for the old shit channel in some of these movies. That's like, oh, Richard Brake is just watching Dr. Wolfenstein. But he seems to always like to watch these horror movies while fucking, whether it's Doomhead or, Winslow. He's always with a babe, just like, I love this movie.
He's like Lon Chaney as Quasimodo, man.
And it's so funny how that's set up later in the movie where I died laughing when where'd she go? Sanctuary, sanctuary.
And so yeah, they're hanging out there, and
We got some more Jesus imagery in there too that reminded me of Devil's Rejects when they saw the tripping Jesus. There's a lot of that imagery in Lords of Salem, but here it's more of just like part of the scenery, like they're passing by one of the places they're shacking up with, and there's the crucifix going on there.
yeah, that's just like heavy Mexico stuff anyway,
Right,
especially with the Saint Maria and
exactly.
all that stuff.
I like the way they set up the scene though, like when they're first getting settled into the shack, and it starts off on the super extreme close up on the eyes of the painting on the wall,
Yeah,
and that
I
just
love
kind of pans
I love
back.
the art style of this little Mexican village because it's very much Rob Zombie art style, but heavy on uh, the Spanish themes and shit.
Yeah, like I would compare it to like a Tim Burton town where it's like definitely stylized, but has its roots in the history of wherever they're, setting it in, and
Yeah.
this dude's just taking pisses on the side of the fucking, on the side of the car.
Yeah. Yeah, because he walks
Just
baby
wait.
in there and he's like, "Yeah, you got your own your entertainment system. You got your own commode." She's like, "Commode?" He's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, dude out there pissing." He's like, "Hey, take that out to the alley."
Yeah, and for once, like, baby is acting ladylike where she's like, great. I'm like, that can't really gross you out, can it, baby? Like, you've seen worse.
So yeah, they go to a little bar that night. They're just hanging out.
This is where I feel like it's definitely trying to recreate, and I texted you this, that it's like around these sequences is where they're trying to do like the Rocky Mountain Way part where, oh, we're safe, we're good, now we can just relax. I do like the little LSD like trippy effect going on there, but it just kind of what did I say? It looked more like. Let me go back to my notes here. Ba, 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 ba. It looks like an Austin Powers transition.
Yeah. But also we get another line throwback before they go to do all that. He's like, "Now let's go get fucked up." And then she's like, "And do fucked up shit."
Yep, great callback. And that whole scene was amazing, just where you have a real moment of downtime with Otis and Baby not bickering, them really reflecting on, everybody's gone, we're the only ones left. And again, I love how Richard Brake's character is kind of like I don't want to say angel on their shoulder, but he's like a beacon of positivity in their life where he's like, hey, you got me. Like, I'm in it to win it with you guys. Like, don't
Yes.
act like I'm chopped liver.
He hadn't been around for a long time. He hasn't seen the shit that they've seen. And
But he's willing to go further with them. And you know what I mean? Like, so even in the
yeah.
short time he's had with them, I really like this moment on Richard Brake's character where he's like, I'm pretty much, bound for blood with you guys.
And we also get, I hope this guy becomes a Rob Zombie regular, motherfucking Pancho Moeller, who played, uh, was it Sickhead?
Yes, dude. So he comes back as Sebastian, and we get it's short lived, but we get like a weird little romance between him and Baby where they hit it off really nice. And I love that monologue where she's just rolling a joint, chilling out with them. They're making each other laugh. He's talking about like a two-headed fucking like wolf or something like that. Um, and she goes, "You remind me of my brother Tiny. He was really tall, but like you guys don't look alike, but you have the same vibe." And in that moment, I can kind of like, even though Tiny doesn't speak, you can kind of get what he means. Where even though they do fucked up shit, like Sebastian is more of like an innocent, like he's just kind of roped into it. Um,
Yeah.
like when he's first introduced, he was like, I was painting. You know what I mean? He's actually a pretty peaceful dude with good intentions. And it takes Baby out of her craziness for a little bit as they get to know each other. I don't know if you could see it prominently like throughout the movie, but Baby got a lot of tattoos in prison. And
Yeah.
one of the new tattoos says, "Rest in peace, Tiny." So that's a cool little detail.
Damn, I didn't notice that.
It either says just R.I.P. or it probably like I didn't catch it in the movie, but I either remember hearing about that somewhere or seeing it in a production still.
That is rad. So yeah, they talk about a knife throwing contest, and so obviously she gonna join.
I love
And
that whole scene where they place their bets down because originally they're just like, "What's this gringa bitch doing here?" Now I know that the term gringa bitch exists, but they put the money down. Their the Charlie Altamont surrogate basically is like, "No, listen, put your guns down. She wants to play." And I like this whole sequence of them like getting closer and closer to the heart in the middle of the target.
And you already know she's gonna do it because she got that one
Right.
bitch in the heart in Devil's Rejects.
Right. The scene is very set up where it's like, you know how it's going to go. Like, it's going to be far closer and then bullseye. And the guys are hitting on her and stuff like that. So I don't know. It was just another one of those cool hangout movie type parts where you get to know a little bit more of the world Rob Zombie's building in Mexico here.
But yeah, so now it just shows everybody partying, getting fucked up.
Doing fucked
And
up shit.
yeah. And so now it's like the next day, and you see the cartel guys pulling up.
Yeah,
And
the El Super Bistos. They're called the Black Satans, but, you know.
yeah. And getting the coffins ready out of the El Camino.
And they just start rolling up, and Sebastian is the first to notice it, and he's like, I gotta go let the others know. So he's rushing off to go tell Otis. Otis is just chilling out with two babes.
Yeah, he's got two women in there with him.
That's where we got the line, fucking, how the fuck is Satan gonna kill me? I am Satan.
Yeah, he's in there, and he's speaking Spanish because he's talking to the ladies. And she tells her, he says that Satan is coming to kill you. He's like, how's Satan coming to kill me? Well, I am Satan. And
This whole scene with Inagata Devita playing as Baby just goes full Katniss on the Black Satans is really badass, and
yeah,
how
I
she
don't know.
distracts them with the playing monkey.
Mm-hmm. She just gets that motherfucker.
There's also I like the way so Rondo's brother's name is Francisco, and he has like the way his eyes look in the mask. I noticed is just very creepy because you could still see like the emotion in his delivery behind like when he's talking to Winslow's babe, and there's that intense like it keeps cutting to like slow motion shots of Winslow running with the shotgun in his hands because they just had a really intimate moment that I mentioned before where he's like, I'm gonna whisk you away from here. He really got into her.
Yeah. So he was really digging his lady. Uh, yeah, as soon as God, what is it? Is it when Otis, the lady opens the door in Otis's room, man, they just just shoot the fuck out of that chick.
Mm-hmm. That's where like the CG blood squibs really don't look the best just because the lighting is off because it's a very darkly lit scene.
Yeah.
But in between that, Francisco, he takes off the mask because she recognizes his voice and shoots her in the back of the head. Um, Fucking, they get revenge on the Charlie Altamont guy. Like he's just, I'm just a middleman stuck in the middle of the middle of the middle.
Yeah, he's then got suitcases he's thrown in the back of the El Camino. Because now, this is when fucking Otis is pinned down. He's only got one bullet left. He's down there with Sebastian, and you got two guys at the door talking about, we're on the count of three, we're gonna come in there and kill you. And they're like, uno, dos, and then fucking Richard Brake comes in there, three
Three
motherfucker,
motherfuckers.
boo, fucks him up.
Moment.
Do what?
I was saying three motherfucker. I was saying it with you, and then I was like, that was a great moment.
Yeah, so he gets in there, he's saved him and shit. Then Otis, I've seen this in a million movies where it's like, oh no, where are you pointing the gun at me? Boom, got the guy behind you. He's like, next time, make sure they're all the way dead.
Yeah. Double tap, basically.
Yeah, so they get out of there, uh, and that's when they sort of separate, and Otis catches
Old
that
buddy
guy.
catches up with him. He's like, for a rat, you really know how to squeak. So he gets all the information out of him. And I love how he gets the dude's guard down. He's like, we'll split the money 50-50, 70-30. We cool? And he's like, yeah, we cool. And then just fucking blows him away.
Yeah, it just obliterates his ass in that
It's
fucking
it's
car.
kind of like a Scarface moment.
Fucks him up. And so now Aquarius is, I guess he captures Baby, and because she shoots a guy, and he's like, as he's like falling over dying, he's shooting, and Sebastian gets shot. And so Aquarius knocks out Baby, and he looks at Sebastian. He's like, "You're not even worth a bullet," and leaves his ass there. And then another guy captures Richard Brake, and so they get them tied up in the little town center,
Yeah,
and
we
they
have the
start
classic
calling for,
Western showdown.
yeah,
We have the classic Western showdown as like I like how the three coffins are in the middle. There's some of that Kubrick symmetry again with like some music video imagery, and I like how Francisco is not fucking around in this hostage situation where typically they wait or they don't actually shoot or they just toy around. Here he's like a bullet for every minute you waste, and Richard Brake could have died right there.
yeah, gets
So
him in the
Otis comes
shoulder.
out rocking that red shirt.
And damn, so Otis shows up, and they're all staring. And one guy gets two machetes out, because Baby's all like, "Cut me out of this. We'll kill them all. We'll kill them all." La 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 la. And he's like,
He's
"Well, I'll
like, "Shut the
take
fuck
Mongoloid
up,
over there."
baby. Shut the
Yeah, I'm
fuck
trying
up.
to
I'm
say.
trying to save your life." Yeah, this is the most caring we've ever seen Otis for Baby because there really is love there, and we've had like more time to develop their family dynamic. And I wrote that this is where I made the Return of the Jedi connection because although it's not quality wise the same as Devil's Rejects, we have like this Return of the Jedi moment with a machete showdown in front of the Emperor, basically. Otis tapping further into his dark side to save his family.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool little machete fight.
Yeah, the shaky cam's not too distracting in this one, and then we still have old buddy Sebastian showing up. Like this actually upset me a little bit because he's like, "I'm here to save you," and I know that him and Sherry didn't know each other long, but I kind of wish there was more of a reaction on Sherry when he finally did bite the big one.
Yeah, he gives Richard Brake a gun. He's like, "I give you gift."
Yeah. But then, yeah, he gets blown away, and yeah, there's not really much fanfare to it. But I mean, he saves the day, really.
He really did, because now,
Now it's three against one, after a while because they start taking out the guards.
yeah, when I like when Otis kills the guy with the machete, you get this like triumphant horn blast.
Yeah.
Oh,
Again, the
dude,
music
forgot to
shifts to
mention
like,
best
yeah.
fucking part in the movie when Otis kills Carlos in the fucking car and his body slumps over on the fucking horn and it's the La Cucaracha horn.
Yeah, that was awesome. And he goes, fucking rat.
Yeah, that was like fucking amazing.
The beats, you're very correct that the beats in this movie are perfect. Like each scene kind of ends with a nice punchline. So it's like even though Captain Spaulding's not here, like in spirit, like the sense of humor of this movie is all Spaulding.
Yeah. And so yeah, they kill the guards and then they have Aquarius tied up and in the coffin.
Yeah, and I like how to the point this ending is, where again, this is another great Rob Zombie climax, another spectacular one, but hitting different still, where it's more laid back. It's not like a big crescendo. It's like a nice little farewell. The Fireflies doing what they do best with the fires of hell.
Yeah, because they tie him up, and they're just like, yep, just waiting. What are you waiting on? Oh, just that little look in their eyes. And he's like, oh, I bet that was it. And he's like, yep. And they're like, any last words? And he's just like, fuck you. And like, ah, yeah, they all say that.
That was such a satisfying callback, like for the one of the final lines. Just that's what they all say. Fuck you.
Yeah. And fucking light a match and just burn him. You know, watching his ass burning up. And
As they walk off the sunset like
yeah,
the
as they walk
cowboys they
away,
are.
and then like they just leave that little town.
Yeah, the credits roll as we watch them drive off, and it's kind of like a Devil's Rejects ending, but also it reminds me of all of Rob Zombie's endings with like the flashing imagery going by, the music.
Yeah,
Um,
you're just
but I
watching,
think it was
watching the, you're
satisfying.
just looking at the road and hills of Mexico, and they're driving. But see who's in the driver's seat? They finally let baby drive.
They call me the baby driver. So
And
that
so yeah, you just kind of watch them
television.
as they look at each other, kind of just like getting ready for their next adventure. Uh, and then you watch, you just watch the landscape over another little Southern rock song.
And that concludes the Firefly trilogy. And that doesn't even necessarily mean, I feel like, hey, if the instinct hits Rob again, it does leave them more open for a sequel than Devil's Rejects did.
Yeah, because I would like to see Richard Brake's character a little more. So far, every time he's had Richard Brake show up, it's been, you get very little of him in Halloween 2, but it's so memorable. And then you get just enough of him in 31, and it's so fucking memorable. And in this, like, you get a whole lot of him, and it's like,
It just
for,
makes you want even more of him.
yeah, for such a late addition to the cast, he's so fucking memorable.
Yeah, he's definitely not a Poochie. Like if this was Itchy and Scratchy, like he's not an insert character that just throws off the whole vibe. Like he fits incredibly well and does a lot of the heavy lifting of this movie. Because even look at Sam's review. Um, even people who didn't love this movie as much walked away like loving Richard Brake's performance. And I think it's just because he puts that manic energy into like everything he's doing. He has that distinct look where it doesn't matter if he's like long haired, short haired, bearded, clean shaven. He's just got like this ear to ear fucking smile and these teeth that jut out of his lips that makes him perfect for horror movies. Very Brad Dourif esque at times.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He and somehow I don't know the way he says the Rob Zombie dialogue is just enigmatic as a motherfucker.
Yeah, like he could sell the goofiest of Rob Zombie shit. But yeah,
And
I think as we're drawing closer to the end of this retrospective, I've been trying to put together like my tier list of like what's my favorite, what's my least favorite. And I'm not going to spoil that just yet. I mean, I'm sure I've made it obvious what like my number one is, but hey, I might surprise myself. I'm arguing with myself at the moment.
yeah, who
But I
knows?
would
The Munsters might be your favorite.
no, I think I already know. That would
But
be a real curveball, but I'm definitely putting this above 31 for sure.
yeah, because
I know
31,
that.
like I said, 31 was a good back to basics kind of formula for Rob Zombie. But this movie for me, uh, him going back to the start of everything. To me, it worked. I like this movie a lot more than most people, and I think I'm going to be the odd man out and say most of me likes this better than Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you're definitely gonna catch some backlash for that,
yeah, like
but let it come. Come on, motherfucker.
yeah. I mean, it's just some things some things work better, but it does take away that supposed perfect ending. But at the same time, I just like these characters, and I'm glad to see them, get up and walk away.
Yeah, I think what it gave us merits, like, I get what people say about the ending, but I think what we were given here merits the reversal. Um, and yeah, I think my tier list, even though I'll probably end up rewatching El Super Bisto more, just quality wise, this definitely goes above El Super Bisto as well.
Yeah,
So I would say
Nelson
like
is hard to
Bisto and
talk
31 or what was that?
amongst his other films.
Like I feel like Bisto and 31 are like the mid tiers. I'm still trying to figure out the placement of the Halloween movies on my tier list, honestly, because I've really had like a whole journey with those movies in terms of how I feel about them. And I always go back and forth. So sometimes I'm not sure if I want to place Halloween 1 over Halloween 2 or Halloween 2 over that. Sometimes Halloween 2 is at like the really low end. Sometimes I rethink it and it goes a little bit higher. So it's like this is going to be interesting. But I do know where Three from Hell and El Super Bisto and 31 stay. They sit firmly in the middle. But Three from Hell would be like the top middle.
Yeah, to me, I think he pulled it off, making a late sequel uh, to what everybody calls his best and perfect movie. This is definitely up there with his best. I like the character development. I like the two little moments where they do reflect on how they're the only ones left, and Spalding's gone, and because even Otis was like he did a lot
Even
more
Mama
living than most
Firefly.
people.
And even though I nitpick about like, yeah, the filmmaking's not as gritty, like the look of it isn't the same. Again, we've had a 10-year jump, so there is going to be a change in look. And what matters most to me is that, like you said, the characters still feel in line. Like there's never a moment in this movie where I feel like, oh, Baby wouldn't do that. Oh, Otis wouldn't do that. They've changed, and it showed maturity on and I know some people are going to roll their eyes when I say maturity on Rob Zombie's writing part, but I do think there has been. Um, and seeing it through these characters is a good lens to analyze that from. So I don't know necessarily like out of 10 what I would put this in. I feel like I would give this maybe like a solid 7 or 8.
Yeah, I could drop a 9 on this, and the only reason I'm taking a point off is because of the couple similar beats. Uh, with yeah, all right, we get the hotel scene, but the Otis house call works better because it's more integrated in the plot. But then they show up at the pleasure town, and the guy that runs the place turns them in. But whereas in Rejects, where Rejects does better is so Charlie Montalbant.
Charlie Altamont.
Altamont.
Oh,
Yeah, Charlie
Ricardo
Altamont at
Montalban.
least gets to redeem himself, and helps Baby a little bit.
Yeah,
And
they kind of
then
split Charlie Altamont into 2 and 3 from Hell, where Sebastian kind of does what Carlos probably should have.
yeah, yeah, Carlos is just a bitch, and gets what was coming to him. And then at the same time, you have the revenge plot with Aquarius trying to avenge Rondo, but none of that has any kind of weight because we
Yeah, it
don't meet
comes a little too
Aquarius.
late.
Yeah, we don't meet Aquarius until, like the last half hour of the movie. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now his son wants revenge. Okay. And so you don't get enough time to, if they could have had, a little more time showing him that he wants to get revenge for Rondo being killed. But at the same time, if they'd have done a lot more of that, it'd have been a little too much similar to Rejects uh,
Honestly,
following.
the villain, like, I don't know if it was a time constraint thing or a money thing with Danny Trejo, but it's like, why wasn't Rondo just the straight up villain?
True.
They could have done that, and it still would have had its roots in Devil's Rejects. And you still could have had the Black Satans, and you still could have had Francisco, because you would have been expanding on his. It would have been like a war between families, which is basically what it is to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, that could have worked. But yeah, so a few plot
Because
beats that
families
are
operate
similar.
like gangs.
Hmm?
Because the families basically operate like gangs anyway, so it's like you could really kind of explore, almost like how John Wick explores the world of assassins, like these family trees and who connects with what, who's cool with who. You know what I mean? Keep expanding
Yeah,
on that, like how we were talking about expanding on like the different heads in the 31 game.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I knock a point off just because of the few similarities, but I do like the way the movie looks. You know, uh, the dialogue is cool. It's as quotable as the first two. I think it's a massive step up from 31. 31 is great, but just real contained. Where this movie feels bigger, even though the little Mexico town set, it looks so small.
Yeah, but I kind of liked that though. That it does. This is where somebody would go to get lost.
Yeah, it's like this secluded little pleasure town in the middle of nowhere, Mexico, and uh, if you drink the water, you're definitely gonna get fucked up.
You've died of dysentery.
Yeah,
It's the most isolated spaceport of their journey.
yeah,
But geez, we have just one more left, don't we?
yeah, man. I don't want it to end. I've had a lot of
Me
fun
neither.
talking
It
about
feels
Rob
weird.
Zombie. Do
We
what?
basically become like the Rob Zombie podcast. So it's I've been discussing with you like what future movies we could be working on. I'm not going to announce anything yet because we're going to come to a decision eventually, but I've been trying to pick movies that aren't Rob Zombie but still kind of have that vibe to it. Something that could smoothly transition us further along just through onto the next part of the show until we find another retro.
Yeah, because then too, eventually we're about to be hitting Ghostbusters again.
Oh right. Yeah, there's a storm coming, ladies and gentlemen. A frozen empire is upon us, which
I
I'm actually
so
pretty.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. At the same time, though, I didn't know, I didn't think that they would do a sequel. I didn't think the movie was big enough to warrant a sequel, but at the same time, nowadays everything gets a sequel. So
I kind of felt like it might get a sequel. It had the possibility for it. What I'm surprised is how fast, production
yeah,
went in and wrapped. Like the announcement of it was so soon after Afterlife, and then yeah, man. But this feels more in line with the first movie. I like how we got the original guys there. And we finally see Paul Rudd in the Ghostbusters jumpsuit. So I'm hoping that now that we've established this new generation, and they're aware, like we have the New York officials, like you guys have a children hanging out of a fucking car. This is not safe.
yeah, yeah. I
I
can't
think it'll
wait to
be more in
see.
line with the
Yeah,
humor of the
it's gonna
first one.
be. It's not gonna be small town Ghostbusters like the last one. I think this new Ghostbusters is gonna jump into the action a lot quicker. Uh, because it was a while before shit went down in Afterlife.
Absolutely. And I still don't think there's any chance that we're going to see Rick Moranis return, but hey, there might be a possibility of Sigourney Weaver showing up. There might not be reason for it, but I won't hold it against them that now that they're in New York, hey, there could possibly be a Dana Barrett cameo.
Yeah. But I also, you were talking about Eli Roth earlier, man. We should probably do an Eli Roth retro sometime.
That would be interesting because he's another one where, because I think about it, the last time I watched anything Eli Roth related that's not the history of horror, like him just talking about movies, like I would tell you I'm probably not a big fan of his movies, but who knows? This retrospective really turned me around on a lot of things, so that would be sick. I definitely have a lot of respect for just him as a horror fan after watching this series. I actually have season 3 playing on the screen in the background right now.
Awesome. What does that come on? Because I've been meaning to check that shit out.
So it's on AMC, and typically like the new seasons come out like around the Halloween time, but I could definitely hit you up. Right off the top of my head, I don't know which streaming service I'm doing it off of right now. But I'll hit you up with the link because they
True
got all
that.
3 seasons just on demand for streaming.
So
I want to
next
say
time,
HBO, but I don't think it's HBO. It might be Shutter. So I'll definitely get the official name.
true, true. So next time we're going to be talking about Rob Zombie's latest movie, The Munsters.
Which I
Uh,
have seen this one already. So when you said it will be at the top of my list, like I already know it's not at the top, but I definitely know it's not going to be at the bottom. From my recollection, I've seen the movie twice. I don't hate it. So,
yes, I've had
I'm
it.
going to
I've
try
seen
to.
it once back when it came out, and I can't wait to watch it again because I don't hate it either. I don't
I
hate it
can't
like
wait
a
to
lot
see
of
what
people
your
do.
guys' thoughts on it. Honestly, like you guys watching at home, I'm curious to get your takes on it when the post comes in. And if you want to be read out on the show, you could follow us at the basement colon uh, fresh from the Facebook group, and that's where we keep you updated. That's where I spread my memes. But if you want to catch us at other places, I also have my YouTube channel, FDV Productions. I'm also on Instagram under FDV Productions, and you could check out my gaming channel with my buddy Mo at Crew Boys on YouTube. We haven't uploaded there in a while, but I want to get back to getting some new episodes of Fallout going.
True that. You see all our shit on Bloody Chuckles Studios YouTube. You can check out our music on all streaming platforms under Monster and the Family and Sticky Middle Finger. Sticky Middle Finger finally dropped a new album recently, just a few days ago, actually.
And I
Uh,
have to say, like, it's chef's kiss. So you don't want to miss out on that. It's a big one.
thank you. Yeah, it was a took a couple years to get that thing put together.
Well, yeah. So if anybody's been listening to the show like long term, like this was talked about years ago. You
Yeah,
gave me the whole rundown on the plot when you guys were working on it. So to see it finally now out and to fruition and remembering what you told me about it was really entertaining. Um, so yeah, definitely check it out, guys.
yeah, hell yeah. But I guess we'll see y'all later with the Munsters.
Yep, no more dick licking for today, guys. You're free to go.
All right, later.
Out of the basement you go. Toodles.